Recording.
Me.
Okay.
Right. I'll start out with a script. Hello, I'm Rob Pettit, Chair of the Needham Board of Library Trustees. First, I'd like to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. When I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. For the library director, assistant director, and staff, we have Ann McFate, director.
Here.
Dimitri Kyriakis, assistant director.
Here.
Jeff Arnold, reference staff member as recording secretary.
Here.
And Danielle Tawa as archivist and technology specialist.
Here.
Thank you. For the library trustees, we have Carol Thomas.
Here.
Anna Giraldo-Kerr.
Here.
Thank you. Kay Cahill.
Here.
Rick Hardy.
Here.
Tom Harkins.
Here.
Myself and Jay Fialco.
Here.
Thank you. From the Friends of the Needham Public Library, we have Lois Bacon.
Well, I'm here, but okay, yeah, all right, yes.
Perfect, that works. And for agenda item 12 from the Library Foundation of Needham, we have do we have Joan on tonight?
She's not yet signed on.
Okay, okay. So I will introduce the remote meeting. Good evening. It is now slightly past 7 p.m. on Tuesday, September 14th, 2021, and this is an open meeting of the Needham Board of Library Trustees. This meeting is being conducted as a remote meeting under an act extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, or the Act, which was signed on June 16th, 2021. The Act allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded. This meeting will allow public comments by means of the chat function only. For this meeting, the Needham Board of Library Trustees is convening by Zoom app as posted on the town's website identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that all participants are participating by video conference. On video conference, please be aware that others may be able to see you and take care not to unintentionally screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. For meeting business and ground rules, for effective and clear conduct of our business, for compliance with the Act, and to ensure accurate meeting minutes, I will restate our ground rules. The chair will introduce each speaker on the agenda. The chair will invite members by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. To the extent practicable and within the bounds of open meeting law requirements for conducting a virtual meeting, we will keep the meeting style informal as we do when we meet in person. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. And for any response, please wait until the chair recognizes you so that we do not speak over each other. Feel free to wave to get my attention. After members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment as follows. Any member of the public signed into the meeting as an attendee may submit written comment or question via the chat function after identifying his, her, or their name and address only. The assistant library director will monitor the chat inbox and alert the chair to submissions there. The chat submissions will be recorded and become part of the official record of the meeting. Each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote, which is a requirement of the Act. I now request a motion to automatically continue this meeting to Tuesday, October 12th, 2021 at 7 p.m. with the same Zoom ID number, which is our next regularly scheduled meeting, should any technical difficulty arise tonight to keep us from completing this meeting. So we just need a motion.
So
moved.
All right, thanks, Carol. And a second?
Second.
All right, I'll go through each member. Jay?
Aye.
Rick?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Anna?
aye.
Kay?
Aye.
Carol?
Aye.
And myself, aye. So to start off today, traditionally we have a public discussion, or we have the opportunity for public discussion at the very beginning. Lois was joining us today with a brief request on behalf of the Friends. So I thought we could start off with that.
Thank you. Actually, this is a request from the Friends, but with a small f, not the Friends of the Library. On October 16 at 11 o'clock in the morning, as you know, there will be a memorial service for Greg Shesko, And if you haven't heard from Marilyn yet, or haven't RSVP'd, please RSVP. Anyway, Marilyn has asked me to say some words at the memorial service. And so what I wanted to do was let you all know, one, that was what I was going to do. And two, if you don't have to do it now, email them to me. If you have any memories or special thoughts that you would like conveyed about Greg, I'm soliciting those ideas, and this is open to trustees, it's open to staff, it's open. I'm going to be meeting with the Friends board next week, I'll email the LFN. I'm not going to promise you I will actually relate the particular anecdote or anecdotes, but I'm looking for comments to recognize Greg both in two ways. One, as a friend in the sense of the lowercase, as a personal friend, as well as a member of the Friends and the broader library community. So that's what I wanted to say. The service is the 16th of October. If you have comments and any memories you'd like to share with me, preferably by October 1st would be great. So I can start putting it together. I believe I have 5 to 10 minutes. So I'm not going to be, as much as I could probably fill hours and hours, I don't get the stage that long. Okay, that's all I had to say.
Can you tell me where the service will be?
It's going to be at the Orthodox Church that's on 135, just before you get onto 128. There's a Antiochian Orthodox Church, and she's gotten the sanctuary there at 11 o'clock, and then has arranged for a caterer to provide some sort of luncheon in their large community room there. They have a very nice room. Tom, I guess, go ahead.
Yeah, it's St. John Damascus.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Lois. Did anyone have any questions, thoughts about that?
I'm just going to put the address in the chat, if it's okay for the panelists.
Sure.
Oh, good. All right, well, thank you, Anna. So I'm leaving so you can conduct real trustee business. It's good to see all of your smiling faces though, and I hope I'll see some of you at the Friends book sale, which is coming up the first weekend of October, where you can shop till you drop for, see, I'll do a little advertisement for the book sale and support the Friends. So as I said, if you have anything, you all have my email at this point, please feel free just to send me comments and I will put them in my list. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Rob, for letting me do this. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Lois.
Thanks,
Bye,
Lois.
guys.
Time.
Bye.
Thanks, Lois. So we'll next turn to the next item of business on the agenda, which is the minutes from the August 10th meeting, which Anne had circulated. Did anyone have any comments or questions regarding those? Okay. In that case, could we have a motion to approve the August 10th minutes?
Moved.
All right,
Second.
and do it. All right, we got a second. I'll run through the names. Jay.
Aye.
Rick.
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
Anna.
Aye.
Kay.
Aye.
Carol.
Aye.
And myself, aye. Before we move on to the, oh, sorry, Kay.
Oh, I was just going to raise the question about the minutes, just in general. I was wondering whether we think that the minutes, Jeff's been doing an amazing job with them, but I wonder if it's necessary for the minutes to be as long as they are, and whether we might think about sort of shortening them to just to cover, instead of trying to capture a whole discussion, which is very difficult to do, curtail it to like just the topic of discussion and any proposals, motions, votes, or informal conclusions. Try to keep the minutes a little shorter.
I can.
Dimitri?
So Kay, just so you know, I spoke to Rob about this when he was in the library a few days ago. Jeff will be doing, this will probably be his last minutes for for a variety of reasons. And, thank you, Jeff.
That's true.
Gay will take over for a couple of months, but then what we're looking at doing is getting a recorder. A lot of the other town boards, I have ulnar nerve damage in my right hand, so it makes it difficult for me to do. So I think we need to get a recorder that takes the minutes. There is somebody that works on our staff, a Paige. I haven't approached her yet, but she was doing 2 different bodies in town, but I think she's dropped one or they're not using her anymore. I'm going to go see if she's interested in doing that, and then. But we need a little bit of transition time. Gay doing it for a couple of months, so the new director's on board and we can go from there. And I discussed it a little bit with Rob. I wasn't looking to talk about it tonight, but just to your point, there will be some changes there for sure going forward in terms of getting.
Okay. Yeah, maybe just looking at, what's required to be in the minutes, and kind of start there, because I find it sort of hard to capture when you try to capture a whole flavor of a discussion and who said what. It's very nuanced and, it's kind of subjective, and, maybe having them a little bit more straightforward.
I mean, what I understand from Robert's Rules of Order is really capturing all the motions and, anything that something happens, that's what you want to capture, really. So I'm hoping as we get somebody who does this, I shouldn't say as a vocation, but does it more regularly. And Jeff, we love your minutes. Please don't get us wrong.
They're fantastic minutes.
You do an amazing job.
But
thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. And but we're working on that, so to speak, going forwards.
Okay. Danielle?
I just wanted to add that the recordings are on YouTube, so anyone who wants to see the conversation in depth can always go there.
Right.
That's it. Thank you, Jeff.
You're welcome.
And Jeff, you raise your hand.
I think someone sent us what the open meeting law requirements are, and there was a whole list of what the meetings are supposed to be doing. And it said like a summary of what's going on here. So, but it's mostly what Kay said. It's like just the facts and whatever it is, and a couple of sentences or something like that for what I'm going to try to do. So,
Wow.
Anna?
Along those lines of improving how we document our meetings, and also there's the opportunity also to be more transparent with the community, because to Danielle's point, there's a video recording now, so people can go and they will not have the minutes per se, but they will have the actual video. I wonder, and frankly, 2 hours of video is a lot to go through for anyone who wants to know more about the library. So I'm wondering if at least we could copy paste the agenda, or we could have some timestamps. At 8 o'clock, we started talking about strategic plan or something, so that people have an idea when to find what they're looking to, as opposed to having to go for 2 hours to see, okay, I'm interested in this part of the conversation from the library, but I have to go through 2 hours of video to find it. So I'm wondering.
Interestingly enough, Zoom is just putting something like that into effect. I need to find out if our account qualifies to be able to use it, but it does pull together a quickie view of where you're going to find important things, so you can skip to that location. So let me do some investigation, and if I can do it, I will do it for our recording.
I have it on right here. It's a live transcript. That could
Live
be,
transcript.
that's a play-by-play. I don't know if I'm talking about a timestamp. So
that's what I'm talking about. It will do that now, but I got to find out if our account qualifies for it. It may be up a certain level.
In the meantime, if we could just copy paste the agenda, so at least people know the topics that we're discussing, and of course we don't keep to the minute, right? But at least they have an idea of the flow of the topics. I think that would be helpful. Well, they figure that out.
Starting next month, we will be putting it into our event calendar with the attendee link, and what goes up on the town website will also go up onto our website.
You mean YouTube, the video?
No, I'm talking about the agenda with the link. I will put it up as an event in our event calendar.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm
But
talking
it
about
stays there.
I am talking about when the recording of the meeting goes up on YouTube, there's usually an opportunity there to add a description. We could add there for people to view the agenda so they can follow the flow of what they're going to be watching.
I
Right,
think
like
that's a
in-
Danielle question.
Do you know what I mean, Danielle?
I can totally put that in the description if someone gives me the times and if someone puts that together, I can totally upload that, absolutely.
Yeah, there is an agenda. I can send it to you right now. We have it every month. Yeah, okay, thank you.
No problem.
And Carol, you'd raised your hand? Sorry, you're on mute.
I wasn't clear where Anna wanted it posted. So I think now I understand.
All right. Any other discussion on minutes before we move on? All right. So we'll move on to the next item, which is the director's report. I'll turn it over to Anne for that.
May I have a motion to accept the gift list?
So moved.
So move.
Second.
All right. I'll run through the list. Jay,
Aye.
Rick,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Anna,
Aye.
Kay,
Aye.
Carol,
Aye.
and myself, aye.
Okay, just call your attention to page 6. There are 4 items there worthy of looking at. One is the Mass Board of Library Commissioners. We're halfway through our reports. The ARIS, the Statistical Report, has been passed in, and the state aid compliance isn't due for several more weeks, but it's almost done. So that will go in early. It will be done before a new person comes in. Next is the select board goals. I thought you would like to see the goals that the selectmen adopted on August 17th. So that was in your packet. Carol, are you asking a question?
I just wanted, could we just back up to the ARIS information? Can you just send that as an attachment out to the trustees? So we have that. It's always so interesting to see what the numbers end up being and can compare
Okay.
them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, then comes the select board goals. I thought you would be interested in looking at those.
Kay?
Rob?
Yep.
Yes, I just wanted to say I really appreciated your attaching the select board goals, Anne, and I was interested to see that they don't really mention the library.
Yeah.
So we need to get on their radar screen. I think that's what I concluded.
Absolutely.
We're sort of not specifically mentioned, but sort of in some of them.
Yeah, there's sort of, I mean, there are plenty of places there where we could be mentioned, but.
Right, right.
Rick,
I think the only thing that that reflects on the library is the fact that one of their goals is to update their website.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear what you said.
So, Ann, I said that by reflection of the library, one of their goals is to update their website.
Oh, yes. Well, we're definitely connected to that, aren't we? Responsible for it, as a matter of fact.
Dave Davison was worried about how expensive it was going to be for the town if they allowed us to have ours. 51.
Right. Then next comes the Needham Community Revitalization Trust Fund. Now, this is the committee that hangs all the banners in town. And the president, Paul Good, has come forth with this Sky Project. It's really just for your review right now, because we're still examining it and seeing exactly how much time this will take and if it even can be done as far as the part on the website goes. Questions?
Carol?
It mentions in this proposal that the library's end of it on the website will be in the Sky Poetry area, but I couldn't find that on our website.
We
Is it-
don't
don't
have
have it.
that. I think he wants us to add a page, and that's the part we have to examine and see if it's possible for us to do that at this point.
Oh, I
Because
see.
we've already done the website, so there
Yeah.
are some things we can add, but what he's asking, off the top, just looking at it with Danielle, I don't know if we'll look at it and see if there's a way to do it, but I don't see right now, because we've already designed the website, we've already done it.
Are we talking about the Sky Poetry Project? Is that what you're talking
Yes.
about?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can I just make one comment on the description of the project? There's a typo in the sentence that refers to Eaton Square Plaza as Needham's most recent addition. You may want to correct that typo.
Where is, this was
That comes
directly
from-
from Paul. Where is it?
Well, I'm looking at the Sky Poetry Project, right on the concept, the first sentence.
Yeah.
Yep.
What do you read?
This is-
Most recent addition to what kind of space? What kind of spaces?
Oh, yes, no, you're right. He
Oh,
left
yeah.
Mel out.
We can, yeah, that's
Okay.
a good value add.
Typo, yeah.
You know, we have a limited amount of Sterling support hours. So, you know, if we can do this without burning any of those up and you know, without burning up too much staff time, you know, it'd be great to participate, but I certainly, I wouldn't want some of these very limited support hours to be used up.
Those are our feelings exactly too. So if there's an effective way, a cost-effective way to do it, we will, but I don't think so off the top of it, but we'll take a look at it and see.
And this is more than money for the website, from the website too. He has expenses, and he was going to let me know how much the library would be expected to pay to participate in this. And those figures have not been forthcoming as yet. So this is just for informational purposes at the moment also.
What's the timing for this as to when he's looking to get an answer by?
Well, he can't get his answer until he finishes giving us the information.
Okay.
And is there a reason why we need to pay for part of this, as we have our own website and all they're going to need to do is put a link?
You have to talk to Paul about that. He has other expenses, I presuming in here.
The banners.
Remember, we pay $1,500 a year to have our banners put up and
I think-
taken down.
I think he wants more than a link though, Gay. So
I like the banners. I think they're a nice thing. I'm always happy to see them when they're up in town.
Yeah, me too.
They are.
Okay. We did the gifts. That is everything from the first part of my report. Everything else goes with an agenda item.
Can I just mention one thing on the report? I really liked the part where you're talking about going into the schools and into the retirement communities. There was something in the report, I think maybe you, Dimitri, or Danielle, where there was some consideration about meeting the retirement homes for computer to understand the online resources that the library has.
Yeah, that's going to be a collaboration with Robin Flynn, our newest librarian. And it was this conversation. It came out of a conversation where with Karen Donahue and I, in pre-pandemic, we'd go to North Hill and the CAF. So I'm hoping to restart that again. But
I thought that was a nice idea. I wanted to just mention it. You know, I appreciate
we're
it.
hoping that we do a little bit more than, because talking about the materials by mail only takes so long. There's only so many questions. But having Robin come with us and offer assistance on,
I think that's a great thing for the community.
yeah.
I second that. That's a wonderful thing.
I'm glad. I'll pass that along. But that's what we're working on. We're hoping to get our outreach kicked off with just a little more.
And the children's room is also doing things cooperatively with other groups.
Rick?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that, you know, that the work that's been done by Sarah, Aaron, and obviously Paula, the programmatic activities are great to see. And I remember when we added the young adult librarian, you know, one of the things that was said is you got to keep experimenting, trying different things. And some things catch on and some things don't. But if you look at the numbers, they're doing an awful lot of things that seem to catch on. And to just looking at the numbers, and certainly the activity, the children's department and those numbers, in comparison to pre-COVID, we've rebounded nicely and seems to be reverberating around the community. So, kudos to them for their work and continuing their work.
Absolutely. My girls have missed the library, so they love getting back. Carol?
Oh, I was just going to say similar at the summer reading program, and there was a lot of reading that got done this summer, obviously, but also, the programs for young adults as well as the children, really stood out. They really did it, got a big draw that was great, to come back with force after last summer's problems. And so I thought that was great. And, I like to see that Sarah's starting a new book club, and that, now we have the Wall Street Journal, if anyone wants to read the full text of that. It seems like you're right. Things are being experimented with. And that's a good thing. I did have a question though. There's a note in Danielle's section on that she returned the hotspots due to mandatory filtering. What is that about? What is that to do?
Hotspots came from the Mass Board of Library Commissioners. It was a grant, and we were led to believe that we'd be able to turn off the filtering device on it, or whatever you want to call it. But as it turned out, it was not going to be so easy to do, and it would take 4 hours to do it while someone was waiting for a hotspot. It got to be too complicated because we don't filter.
What does that mean? Turn off filtering.
Filtering, if I could address that, sorry.
Go ahead.
So filtering would be like, you would try to look up topics, like a common example is breast cancer. It filters that out. You can't look that up because that's one of the filtered words. There are other things that other librarians have been trying to look up with it, and it blocks it because that's what filtering software does.
I see.
We were led to believe when we took them that turning off the filtering would be just a matter of our going to a web dashboard and just clicking something. That's not how it works, actually. There's somebody in the back office of the MBLC that you click it, and then up to 4 hours later, somebody at the Danielle, is it MBLC or T-Mobile? I forget who.
T-Mobile, I believe.
Would see it, and then so if, for example, a patron walks in and says, we'd say to them, do you want it without filtering? Typically, most people say, yes, we do. You can't do it right then and there and say, okay, you can go away with it now. You might have to have them come back the next day or check and see. There have been incidences with other libraries of similar issues where it irritates patrons, right? Because you come into the library, you want to get it, you want to get out, right? So it just seemed like PR-wise, it would be a bad idea.
And due to the funding, we couldn't preemptively unfilter them.
Yes, because it was federal funding, we were obligated to leave the filtering on and then have the patron ask us. We could heavily suggest to the patron, do you want us to take the filtering off? And, half the people would probably be like, what is that? What are you talking about? So all in all, Carol, it just seemed, it just would not be a good service for our patrons.
So every time somebody returns it, the filter goes back on?
It's IMLS money, Institute Museum and Library Services. It's federal money. So the obligation from the MBLC is that it has to be given out with filtering. And we can't, our idea was that we would turn the filtering off, say to people, if you want the filtering on, we'll turn it back on. And through a few Zoom sessions with the MBLC, it was very clear that that's not what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to leave it on and let the patron ask us to take the filter off, to which ourselves and other libraries are kind of like, but why should that burden be on the patron to tell us to? So it just really didn't seem as good a deal as it did on the surface of it,
So they're returned for good?
Yes, yeah. We were tried to be talked out of not returning them, but in the end,
many libraries didn't even bother with them.
Many libraries didn't even bother.
Knowing this.
And are we?
Knowing this, that the libraries knew this and said, forget it?
Yeah.
So are we able to accommodate people that need hotspots at this point without these, or?
Well, we're hoping to buy more. So we'll use some of our technology money to do that. We're looking into doing that. So right now we have 5. I think, Danielle, they're usually in pretty high demand, I think now.
Correct.
Yeah. So which is good. So we're hoping to add a few more and be able to source that from our own technology fund. And that way we're not going to have filtering. We could just freely lend them out without that in the way.
And also, you know, based on some of the discussions we've had with FinCom over the past few months, you know, we're asking for some of these technology expenses, ongoing technology expenses for electronic resources to be moved to the permanent budget rather than coming out of state aid. And one of the feedback items that we got back was we'd like to know where that funding would go. This would be a good example of something where we could divert some of that state aid funding from something that's truly a core library ongoing service like, you know, Canopy and Overdrive and those things, to not an experimental program, but something that's not quite as core as those.
No, yeah. This would be a perfect use for that.
Mm-hmm.
So you mean shift the Overdrive and Canopy to the appropriated budget and then replace this as an expense in the state aid?
That's exactly it. Basically, their question or their suggestion to us was, you know, explain to us what's going to replace those expenditures from the state aid fund once these items are moved out. And this would be a good example of something that would be done with that.
Yeah, although I mean, we have plans
many others
and
too.
so many demands on state aid in the next year that there, you know, may not be much to worry about. And there are always new things coming up, just like these things came up this past year. So it's a hard balance to please them, but also, you know, have funds available when we really need them. So
yep,
that's the rub.
Let's see, I think we could probably move on unless there's any further discussion of those items to building and grounds.
The light fixtures that were replaced at the circulation desk, what a difference. It's the difference between day and night. And pretty soon we'll have the same thing up in the children's room. So it won't be so dark up there.
That's great.
That's
Great, yeah.
great. Very, very glad to hear that. Anything else under building and grounds to discuss today?
Clock is still working?
Yes.
Yay.
Okay. We can move on then to the financial reports. And did you have anything to discuss in those?
Not to add, I just put in Maxine's bills so you know what you're paying for.
Yep. Thank you. And Carol, did you have a hand raised?
I just wanted to, Anne, would you just explain what you explained to me in an email, why the town can't figure out the status of our appropriated budget spending? Could you just, they have a shortage in personnel. Could you just
They have a
explain
shortage in the finance department. But we still have items that are floating in too.
on last year's?
Yeah, it's been a bad year for the publishing business. So many of the items that were ordered were postponed or postponed again. And we ordered them back in the last fiscal year. So we'd like to pay for them with the last fiscal year's money. At some point, the finance department will say, okay, folks, that's it. Cancel any orders that haven't come in.
But are we spending out of our new budget as well, though?
Yes, we are.
And they're not.
We are, and we finally have our contracts with Baker and Taylor, our major supplier, which were very late in coming. There was something in the contract from the Mass Higher Education Cooperative that didn't quite fit with the finance department. The truth is the expired, the bid expired on September 30th. But it said, will renew. And it took quite a bit of finding out what that meant. And Dave did. And once he found out what it meant, then he approved the contract.
Oh, but they are not preparing, giving you figures even to do,
Well, they are, but
fiscal.
it's not quite worth putting them on paper next
I-
month.
Okay, all right, great, thank you.
Thanks. Anything else on the financial reports? Okay, in that case, we can move on to the statistical report. And anything to note in that?
Just what I've printed about the figures are rebounding very nicely. Pretty soon we'll be back where we were. So people haven't forgotten us. They still love us. And it's interesting to note that the electronic services in 2019 for the month were 13.1% of the circulation, and now it's 16.7. So interest has gone up a bit.
It's great to see it. Having the 21 to 19 numbers really helps to kind of show where we are.
Right, because the 20 figures just aren't normal.
Right.
Can you tell me, I'm looking at this financial figure that starts in 1958 through this past year,
Oh, yeah.
2021, and that's a great
I'm
feat
glad
to
you
have.
like it.
So, and at what year did you become director first? I'm just looking at this.
1992.
1992. So if we look at circulation from 92 through now, it's gone up. Oh, I don't have the second sheet here, but from 92, our total circulation has gone up from 334 to FY 2021. So it was up in the 500,000s before COVID. So I just wanted to make note of that huge increase in circulation under Ann's tenure.
All those books I check out.
It's great. And when we were submitting statistics to FinCom, I actually took this spreadsheet and it did a few things with it. And one of them was figuring out the circulation per resident by year. And even when you take into account the fact that the town has grown somewhat, not a huge amount, most of the growth was between 1960 and 1970, but even taking that into account, circulation numbers during the past decade are still higher than they've ever been before, which really undercuts any narrative of library use being in decline or anything along those lines. It's really heartening to see that.
Parking lots filling up these days.
I can attest to that. Anna?
Just to be clear, the circulation numbers include physical books and online items, right? Is both?
Right.
Okay,
Right.
so it's videos or DVDs, whichever was the norm, but back whenever. And then downloads now more, right? More, whether it's audio or a movie or Hoopla, it includes all the different ways that folks can download items. Is that right?
That is true.
Okay, great.
And the MBLC statistics that we submit are, they are extremely detailed in that breakdown between electronic and other and print resources and periodicals. There's a lot of different buckets that go into that.
Right.
All right. Anything else on statistical reports? Okay. In that case, we can move on to new business. We don't have anything specifically listed out here, but is there anything that is not covered under old business that we should be discussing? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to old business. First up is the website. And Anne, I know when I dropped by earlier this week, you'd gotten some unsolicited praise from a journalist.
for the website, and I printed it in your report. It was very nice of her.
So always nice to hear that. And, thank you to everybody who updates the website. It continues to look nicer and nicer every week. I just emailed Danielle this week because I was trying to do a Google search because I was being super lazy, and I just typed in Needham Library, and for some reason our website is like a stealth bomber. It's just totally under the radar for Google and Bing and all the search engines. So I believe, Danielle, you've reached out to Sterling to see if there's any settings that can be changed to kind of get picked up a bit more.
Yep, they actually fixed it. So it
Right.
may take a few days for the crawlers to do their job, but give it a few days and we should show right up. They found a setting that was, as Rob suggested, discouraging everything from locating us, and it's all fixed.
Oh, great.
Great.
Actually, I can attest to that. I just Googled Needham Library, and now it's the first thing that shows up.
Great,
Thank you.
thank you.
Anna?
Yeah, this may fall under a different category, but since we're talking about searching on the library website, I've been trying to direct folks to our equity resolution, but I can find it if I search it, but there is no one, it's not listed anywhere. It's not under the about, it's not under events, it's not under trustees. So could we have a category under the about, perhaps, to have the equity resolution so people can find it? As I said, if I do a search and I type equity, it shows up,
I think,
but
Anna,
it doesn't.
I think it had been under with policies, and that buries it. That's
It shouldn't be.
Yeah,
It should be, particularly with the
highlight
town's
yeah.
effort and equity, which should be front and center, just maybe under policies. You see, I'm looking at our library. There's about library, etc., hours, direction, staff, trustees, policies, maybe under there, equity resolution, and just have it there.
Under policies.
Yeah, no, not under the subject. There is, there's a list of different subjects, so they could insert a new subject line there that is visible right under between policies and latest news.
Right, so that'd be under the Our Library sort of
And then tab.
header. Danielle, would that be possible without having to bring Sterling in?
I'm gonna have to take a look at that and get back to you.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I suppose it could be a page, creating a page and then attaching it somewhere in one of the. Anyway, thank you.
That would be great, because that is a very significant initiative, and it'd be good to get that front and center. Okay.
Yes, so at our last meeting on the website, we talked about getting a bookmark to be distributed, like at the circulation desk and other places, even around town. Is that something that someone at the library can have a book?
It's in the works.
It's in the works.
Oh,
Excellent.
wonderful.
That's great, because I really think that would be helpful to get people aware of how to get to the website and use it. Thanks.
Along those lines, is this like instead of a QR code, or are we also going to get a QR code so folks could just go and get into the live? I don't know. I've seen that being very effective to get people kind of interested, or they just get their phone and get the QR code, and then the website shows up. So
part of the bookmark design will be a QR code, so they can automatically use that to get to the website.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kay.
Nice.
And for my own selfish purposes, I can't wait to get one or maybe even two of those bookmarks. I've been using receipts for a long time, so it'd be nice to switch over. Anything else under website? Okay, in that case, we can move on to a strategic plan update. And I can preface this with, the period of our most recent strategic plan is over. Typically, we wouldn't be providing updates to an earlier strategic plan, but given that we are deferring starting a new strategic plan until a new director is on board. We thought that it would make sense to continue to just evaluate our progress against the existing plan in the interim, and that the goals from the prior strategic plan would be the best ones to evaluate. So with that in mind, this month it is Anna's turn to discuss community outreach.
Thank you, Rob. And you received a it's kind of a table. I don't think you can see it, but it's PDF of 2-pager. And I realized I want to acknowledge that this is a different way of displaying the information, but knowing that I was expecting a lot of activity because I know COVID has not stopped the staff from providing, engaging the community. So it said, how do we display all the different activities in a way that we can immediately understand what, kind of get some patterns out of the information. So we started from September 2020 to this month. So it's about a year's worth. And I want to, first of all, thank the staff, everyone who contributed. I know it was a very short notice request and they did their best. I appreciate making the time despite their busy schedule. I took the liberty of summarizing, just again, for the purposes of getting, like a snapshot of the activities. I do have the original information. So if you want more information, I'll be happy to provide what I received. But here, what I want to bring your attention to is that one, there's been activity through all the different groups, children's, young adults, and we included also the website here because that's a way of engaging the community and providing inclusive space for patrons. Oh, and to the far right of the page, you will see I included the 3 objectives that go under this one goal, which is community engagement and partnerships. And it's about building a strong Needham community. I'm reading from the strategic plan by forming partnerships with community organizations, town departments, schools, and local businesses. And I think to this effect, the library has been very focused and intentional in fulfilling objective A, which is fostering relationships with community organizations, town departments, school, and businesses. So there's many examples here from all the different groups, from the schools, from community organizations, through, let me see here, all ages, families, and adults, so all throughout, and community partners even. So objective A has been fulfilled. Objective B, which is more about a more formal publicity plan, is still kind of in work in progress, and perhaps with the new website and with the new leadership, we'll be able to focus on that part of if we, the new strategic plan includes this goal. And for objective C, which is providing a safe and supportive space, place to celebrate diversity and inclusion, that this has been a bit of, been challenging because of COVID and not having the opportunity to meet in person. However, virtually, there have been several events that have been able to bring community together and have discussions of different sorts and have build that sense of community, even though it was via Zoom. So that's all I have. Oh, and the last column is if it's ongoing or not. Some partnerships as just one-time event, some are ongoing. So they're just the different flavors that comes. So there's no particular pattern that I see there. And I'll stop for questions.
Carol?
Well, I was just going to say, Anna, this is a really very successful format, I think, for reading. To display a pattern. You can see where, we've, the library really has excelled in making outreach efforts to community partners. That's been the strength on objective A. And this is a very, very nice way to show it. And I thank you for thinking of it. I'm I'm now thinking of what I can do with my part, whether I can do something similar, although I probably don't have the skills to set it up like this.
Oh, I can certainly share the Excel.
Easy way to read it.
Yeah, the template. I can share the template. It's just Excel. So I'll be happy to go over that with you if you like.
Thank you. Yeah,
So, Anna, I can tell you that one of our outreach things that you directed us to has borne fruit. We will be starting to host a teen book club starting in the end of October. That is coming out of the high school. It's going to be called the Real World Book Club, books with realistic characters, having realistic struggles, race, religion, mental health, etc. We have set up dates for them. They will be meeting first to determine what they want to read, but we've got real hopes that this is going to be a really nice community effort coming out of the high school for a teen book club run by teens.
Yep, I will give. I was saving that for the equity and inclusion, but thanks for the preview.
Yes,
preview.
But it's
and
coming.
that's in the works. Yeah, it's just.
It's definitely in the works. I've got their first poster, which we'll be putting up on our electronic boards. And we have offered the young lady all the support we can give her.
Okay, let's thank you, Gail. And anything on the report, Kay?
Okay.
Yes, so I was wondering on the objective B, the publicity plan. So I know that, the library obviously does have a publicity plan in place with the library notes going out, and we do have done, there's a fair amount of publicity done every month with Facebook, and also we've done publicity on the art exhibits. So I'm wondering, so I see no boxes checked there. So I was just wondering what the criteria are, or why there's no boxes checked, I guess.
What I've seen over time, I've been covering this goal for a few years, and I think that the one element is that it's not a proactive, systematic. Is done. I think it's more of is been, to your point, is being accomplished tactically. So as we need it, we do publicize events, but there is a strategic plan for publicity. I think there's more of that kind of. That's what I haven't been able to. Perhaps again, it doesn't seem to be. It's happening. Operationally, but there is no document that actually tells you like the long-term goals and outcomes, desired outcomes, and so on.
Tom?
Yeah, I think you left one thing out, which I'm surprised you did, was an American Marriage in January.
Oh,
In January 2021, the American Marriage was a very, very good thing, and that was in cooperation with a community partnership too. So I think you should include that.
The two. There was also April 22nd was Jennifer De Leon. We didn't include the book clubs that were putting that on the equity side, but I didn't. You're right. Maybe we should include it. I don't think we've ever included it before, but that's
it's a partnership. It's a community partnership with the diversity and all that.
Well taken. Point well taken. I'm going to amend and include it. Thank you, Tom.
there's no reason these things can't be more than one place, I think, too, maybe.
Yeah, some events and some activities that we have, they hit different points, right? So they fulfill several of our goals. So yeah.
Danielle.
I just had a follow-up question for Anna. I was just looking at the equity pages on the website, and were you guys talking about the book list or the trustees' commitment to equity and inclusion?
That commitment.
Okay, just so I can narrow it down. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Any further discussion of Anna's update on community outreach?
Really nicely done.
Thank you. And I will
Thank you, Anna.
I will send a revised report with Tom's suggestions, which are really, it makes definitely I think that they need to be in there. So thank you, Tom.
Thank you very much. The next item under old business is the equity inclusion resolution. Are there any updates worth noting at this meeting?
Yes, I might as well go again. I have a few updates quickly. Well, Gay Ellen already mentioned that there is a new book club forming, and this was an effort by a high school senior. And she approached me, and I refer her to Gay Ellen and Aaron. So they are working out the details. It's a book club. They want to meet in person, and their age range is from 14 to 18 years old, and they are Needham residents, so mostly high school kids, and they want to be the ones managing the whole process, selecting the books, having the discussions, and their goal is to engage in conversations similar to the adult book club. Diversity discussion. So, and it's very much in alignment with our equity commitment. So it's great that they took the initiative and that the library can provide a place for them to meet and some resources to organize. So that's one. Two is the Diversity and Discussion Book Club. We're going to start our 4th year. And at this point, Rick and I had a conversation, and we're looking to implement some changes, to bring some new members of the community. What's happened is that we've had for all these years the same folks participate in terms of planning and organizing, and there are so many other folks interested in contributing, and I think this book club will be a good way for them to get their feet wet without too much commitment. And so we are in the process of restructuring the club. We had several members, like a third or maybe half, I think it was half of the members were from one particular group. So we're hoping that they will only have fewer members representing that group, and we'll bring new folks in. So we're in the process of restructuring this, and we're in the process also to reaching out to new groups within the community, and I'll have more information probably by next trustee meeting. But that is also in the works. So at this point, we don't have a date for any future meetings or book clubs, because we're kind of going through the restructuring process at this point. And lastly, we already talked about the equity resolution for the website, but in the director's report, there is the equity and inclusion resolution. I was hoping, I wanted to request if we could list the information by the 3 categories that that are part of the resolution. So there's programming, there is materials, and there is training and development. And here, let me just see. It will be helpful for us to take, I'm trying to find it. Where is I saw it here. So it'll be helpful for us to track, if we are heavier on programming or heavier on materials and a little more light in training. So it'll be easier for us to figure out where are we already doing enough and where do we need to do more of. So I would like to ask that and going forward to start reporting that. And if there is at this point a way for us to be able to do, since we started, if we have those buckets up to date.
Any further discussion on those points? And Anna, thank you very much for the update. Kay?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, are we, the trustees, still wanting to continue to report in if we've done an activity or something, or is it, what are we doing on that?
That's the only way that they will know that something's been done, and for them to keep accurate records.
Okay, so we trustees I'm just checking to whether whether the trustees are supposed to be kind of, telling, I guess, reporting into Dimitri if we do something.
I will say it's not a bad idea, but honestly, I've been doing a variety of these activities, both, through my work at GBH and elsewhere, and I haven't been keeping, I don't think, a complete track like perhaps I should have, but I've been, pretty active with it.
Oh,
Yeah, I've done some things too, which I guess I could pass on to Dimitri. Is that it? Is that what we are doing?
Dimitri,
Okay.
we
I
can't hear you.
Sorry about that. I have one clarifying question about that. The materials, do you want the materials listed out, what we all buy?
no, just to know if you, just to have the 3 different categories and you say bought 10 books or something, but that they're all sorted by the 3 different categories.
Right, so materials, programming, and
Training and
training.
development.
Okay, all right.
And if you don't tell me what you've done, I have no way of knowing, so.
Right.
Okay, so we should tell you.
Report.
I have some
once
thoughts
something-
about that, but I'll run it by Rob and see if that will work for us trustees. I had originally started a spreadsheet, but maybe we can do it for us and then submit that to Dimitri. I mean, I don't know if that's easier.
Well,
We can discuss
I have a
that.
proposition.
Better send it to me because I have one more
proposition for you.
report to do.
I have a proposition for Anna.
But who's
Anna, you
counting?
did such a wonderful job with that spreadsheet. Maybe you can create me a spreadsheet that I could use to throw all
I
that.
did. I remember we ended up in HR.
We did, but that was a different, but it wasn't like the one you're describing now. If you could modify it, make it, that was whole, we could talk about that offline. That was
Okay. No.
But if you just do the categories, I'll look for that spreadsheet. I mean, if we can cut off the.
Yeah. We'll okay. Let's
we'll talk
definitely talk
offline about
offline.
it.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
thanks.
Carol?
Yeah, you can also, I like what you've, what shows up in the report, even though it's not set up just that way, that you say, well, 13 nonfiction adult books or, graphic novels or, I think that's a useful thing to see what, generally what types, not titles and authors, but just in general, classify it sort of that way, group it like that under materials, for instance. That's kind of, a handy thing to be able to see, sort of where we focused on our, resource purchasing in this area. Aside from that, I like, I think it would be nice to set it up the way we have it set up as our targets in the resolution.
Yeah.
But can I? No, I'll wait till later. Trustee comments. Thank you.
Okay. Rick, did you have your hand raised?
I think in terms of in reporting, to Jay's point, I mean, if it's involved as a trustee in a community setting in Needham, I think that would be reportable. And obviously people are involved with other things too. But then it becomes more of a burden in terms of all the things that they possibly could be doing. But if you're doing something and you're recognized as a trustee of a Needham Library and it's involved in the community in terms of equity and inclusion, then yeah, it would be worth reporting.
So that's all I have. One quick final question, just in the equity side. Who puts together lists, suggested book readings for the different, groups? I see some books for Black history and Asian history. Is that somebody? There's a request for the Hispanic Heritage Month that starts tomorrow. I don't know if somebody is already working on that.
I don't know. I can find out from Sarah. Normally be folks in reference,
Okay.
children's and
Yeah.
Aaron do their own, but I'll find out about that. And,
That'd be great. So to add to the wonderful collection you already have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Anything else on equity and inclusion? All right, in that case, we'll continue to move down under old business to marketing and outreach. Any updates on that front from anyone? All right, and in that case, we can move down to the director search update. I'd be happy, and Kay and I have both been involved in the process. Kay was involved with, and as well as Jay and Carol, with the second round of interviews, and we are having the final round tomorrow at the library. So things are moving along rather rapidly, and we're hoping to gather feedback individually from all of the trustees, or I will be doing that at some point later this week. Kate, did you have any other updates that we should share?
I don't, other than just that, we did start with some 30 applications. The first round, we selected out 14. And more recently, we went through the second round and are down to, I'm actually not sure I should name the number yet. It's sort of at a delicate spot. So we are down to finalists that the group tomorrow will be interviewing. So yeah, and it's very exciting. I mean, there's wonderful candidates, and so we're pleased with the candidate selection.
Yep. Any other updates from anyone else on that front?
I'll only say it. Maybe this is a subcategory, but in connection with the director search, I'm not sure what steps we're taking with regard to the transition and whether there's any materials that the library should be preparing, policies or operating procedures, or what sort of stuff we might want to be putting together for ourselves for our future benefit. And I'm not sure. My guess is you've learned some lessons along the way, and you may want to put together a list of some things that it might be useful to pass on.
This is the first time I've ever had to replace myself, so it's all new to me. But I have an array of information right in front of me that certainly will stay here. I'm not.
Okay, if you could just put it, maybe an index or whatever you need to do to make it as usable as possible for someone who's not as deeply familiar with it as you are.
I hope I'll have the opportunity to show the candidate.
Yeah.
Around.
I'm sure you will. Yes.
Sure.
Yeah. Any other updates under the search update? Okay. In that case, sorry, Anna.
Quick question. I'm just curious. So what are the next steps after, or the timeline after tomorrow? How soon are we going to make a decision, and when will the final offer be out?
That's a very good question. So after the final round tomorrow, the town personnel will be collecting feedback from all of the various groups, including trustees, friends, foundation, staff, everybody who's going to be there tomorrow. Ultimately, under the town charter, it is the town manager's sole discretion to submit one candidate to us as a board. Obviously, with plenty of input from all of us along the way, including at the very end. That submission will occur, we certainly anticipate it will occur at next month's meeting on October 12th. Given the timing of everything, we didn't think it was necessary to call a special meeting solely for that purpose. So we would plan on having the up or down vote by each of us collectively as a board at next month's meeting. And certainly there will be updates along the way during the interim month to let you know how things are going and what the plan is.
So October 12th is your next meeting. There's also the trustees meeting.
Right, that's the next trustees meeting, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Right, but did you say the next meeting for the director search is October 12th?
No.
Oh, no, sorry. The next trustees meeting is October 12th. The next director search interview round is tomorrow, and that's the final one.
Okay.
My guess is that a decision will be made probably this week, and then it's just a matter of HR details as far as checking references, perhaps, and I don't know to what extent salary is entered into the conversation yet. I don't know that it has.
Right. Pretty much the town takes over from that point on out, giving us regular updates, and then at the October meeting, they would just present their selection for our vote.
Okay.
Carol?
Rob, do you understand that they would not extend an offer until after we had given our up or down vote?
I was going to say that we've gotten all appropriate assurances that the communication between us and the town will lead to them recommending somebody that we're going to be happy with.
Right, I'm not sure that they would necessarily, and we can certainly check with the town. I'm not sure if it's a condition precedent or it's just a conditional offer that would be extended. But certainly, you know, our goal is to, you know, be in close enough communication so that that wouldn't be a practical concern.
Yeah, I don't expect we'll be surprised by who they recommend.
Yeah.
By then.
No, I was just going to say, if it were going to be a practical sort of impediment to moving ahead, then I thought maybe we should have a special meeting, you know, it would take 2 minutes just for that purpose, if it turns out.
Tom?
Yeah, I do think that, you know, we have to remember that they have to offer the person, you know, the job, you
Right.
know, before, and then they have to accept it before they
Yes.
come to us, you know?
Right.
Yeah, so I think that's, I think that's the way.
I don't think that doesn't make sense to me, Tom. They wouldn't be offering it to somebody without having confirmed with us that we're all on the same page, and then only after someone accepts come to us. I can't imagine that's how it would work.
But why would they bring it to us if they thought we might not accept it?
I mean, my guess is that, you know, they're probably going to be hashing out all the details during the next month. And, you know, by the time that it comes across, across our board at the next meeting, everything will be in place. Perhaps, you know, paperwork won't have been signed until after that point because formal approval is required. But everything else will be ready to go at that point.
And also Kate Fitzpatrick, she was the one that wanted to bring it to the board on October 12th. So that seemed to work in her mind. That's a good date.
Okay.
Yep. Early on, we had discussed the possibility of having a special meeting, but I believe that the preference ultimately ended up just having it at the October 12th meeting. Okay. Any further discussion on that topic? Okay. In that case, let's move on to the next item. And this carries over from last meeting. This is the large crowded meetings in the community room, specifically Arts in Bloom and New Year's Needham. Ian, are there any updates to either of those programs?
There are no updates. I think we're all still waiting to see how the COVID numbers are around the times these activities occur.
I think they're also waiting to have some guidance from us as to what actual numbers we think we're approving. I will tell you that waiting for guidance from you, we have just arbitrarily set our own numbers very low so that we can accommodate them. Children's room is pretty much not taking more than 25 total bodies for their story times.
Yeah, but this
They're
is
not taking
that.
Not that, those are big events, but just so that you know that we are keeping our numbers low on what we're accepting. And I am also not taking new people into the room. I am pretty much dealing with people I've dealt with for the past 15 plus years for bookings that I know what their numbers are like for the room. So we're trying to artificially keep our numbers low so we can keep track of what's going on in the room in case we have an incident. But we really do need some guidance in case we're going to have something big. I do know the Friends are potentially booking a major author for February, at which point I'm definitely going to need to have some guidance on numbers.
The health department will be giving us the guidance.
Yeah. Anna?
That's exactly what I was just going to say. The Board of Health, can we consult with them? I think that's the appropriate channel, wouldn't it?
We did, and they haven't given us a number.
Yeah.
So
I think they're waiting too.
Yeah, everybody's in a waiting game, but we do have two organizations that need to know that can they bring in their 1,000 people into this building? We need just a decision saying yes or no.
Yeah, I'm
I
not
mean-
sure that anybody's going to be able to make a decision that I understand. I hear what you're
Yeah.
saying, that the difficulty that you're in there, Gail, and these groups are in, but you know, I'm not sure anybody can really make a decision this
I
far
don't
in
think so
advance.
either. I will tell you, it's probably going to be moot on New Year's Needham because I have a funny feeling they're not going to be going forward. But for the garden clubs, I'm going to need to have something for them because they need to start fundraising now to get their money in place so they can actually put on the event. And they keep bugging me about it. I don't know if we can actually host something that big.
Yeah, I mean, normally the Art and Bloom that attracts how many people? Really? What?
It attacks 3,600
Thousands?
people,
Yeah.
thousands over the weekend.
I can't quite
can't fathom
imagine
it
that
either.
that's possible.
I mean, we were lucky enough, we got it in without a major incident 2 years ago.
Mhm.
That was our last major event before we closed down. And we literally closed down 4 days later.
I mean, if I were them, you know, I would be looking, given that's a springtime event, granted it's very early spring, but I'd be looking for an outdoor venue.
I would be changing their dates and definitely looking outside under a tent or something like that, literally.
There's no way,
We
there's
can't
no
give
way
them
that
an
we
answer.
can promise to hold at this point an event, you know, 6 months in the future when, you know, things could be a lot better or they may not be.
So
No.
Rob, what I will do is I will communicate to them that we cannot guarantee that we will be able to host them and that they should look for an alternate location in the event that we can't.
You know,
Personally,
one other option is to like severely limit the number of people per hour allowed in. You know, there's some.
And that's
if you could-
impossible. Yeah,
No, if you could say 100 people per in the library at a time or something like that.
I think
We
they
would
should
need-
look at the tent down on the common.
either down on the
Good idea.
common or, you know, conversely find some big, huge parking lot that they could put a tent up in and do it outside.
Yeah.
And do it later in the year so that they don't have to worry so much about the
Mm.
flowers freezing at night or they're dying of heat.
The Hersey station. That's huge. That's a massive parking lot.
Yeah,
It is,
but
it's always empty.
Now, the town doesn't control that anymore.
no, it does not.
It's MBTA land, right?
They possibly could look at some place like maybe Claxton Field or something like that. That is under the town's control. And depending on what they're doing for outside events, yeah, that is a possibility. There are some locations they probably could go to, but I don't think it's something that we're going to be able to give them assistance on.
right. Which
I
is,
feel bad about it because it's a really good event for us.
Anna?
So should we decide and say no so that they can move on and we can, I mean, it seems like we've already discussed it in a way.
Well,
I
we
mean,
should-
we're
we
not
should
gonna-
See what they say.
We're just not going to know until pretty soon before. And, you know, if they're okay with us giving them a month's notice, at that point, that's one thing, but it sounds like they really need to know now.
Well,
I
Gay
think
can
so.
find, Gay, you can find out how much advance time they need. know.
I can do that, and I can certainly report back next month, or I can report back saying that they are going to put it off another year. Which would be
One
my
way-
suggestion, yeah.
One way that the Art and Bloom could do it would be have it at multiple venues. I mean,
They
have done,
actually,
they've
they've
done it
done
at the,
that.
they've done it at the town hall, they've done it at the high school, they've done it at the senior center, you know?
So here's the thing, Tom, all of
Yeah.
those things that they do at alternate locations on that Friday, every single one of those arrangements comes back at the end of the day on that Friday and is put back into place in the library. As someone who has to stay an extra 3.5 hours on that Friday night to accommodate the placement of all these things,
Oh,
yeah.
no, I'm not saying that, I'm saying have it on Saturday and Sunday at all different locations.
It means that they've got to hire then people to man all of those buildings and traffic details at all those buildings.
Yep.
Yeah, they can't afford that.
Can't afford that, well.
No,
We need to have some dialogue with them.
all right. I will do what I can and contact them and tell them what our
Call-
position is
call-
and see
Call
what they
Sue
want to do.
Kaplan. Call Sue Kaplan.
Yes, it is Sue Kaplan, yes.
And, you know, when you reach out to them, certainly reiterate that
Yeah.
we look forward to hosting them in the future. I mean,
Oh, definitely.
you know, we would
I'll
love
be saying
to.
this, I'll be saying the same thing to New Year's Needham.
Right. Because those are great, you know, going to community outreach. Those are both great community outreach programs that
So,
reach a huge cross section of the community, but, you know, we're limited in what we
So-
can do.
I guess my question would be is if New Year's Needham decides to go ahead without using us as a facility, is this board still willing to give them a donation to pay for children's programming using us as a, giving us the credit for it?
Carol?
I was just thinking that if, that might be a good idea, but we would consider it an outreach, a program outside the building of the library. And they wouldn't charge, wouldn't require a button to get in. I would feel comfortable doing that. I think that might be a good idea. If there are other locations that could accommodate a library program outside the library.
All right, I will offer that as a suggestion to New Year's Needham and tell them that the proviso would be that whatever events we pay for must be open to all.
Yep. All right. Any further discussion on that topic? All right. In that case, we'll move down under old business to security cameras. Danielle, was there any update on that this month? Oh.
Dimitri and I actually did another walkthrough with Stanley Security. They're still narrowing down the quote, trying to get precise adjustments for wire runs, since some of our ceilings are interesting with running wires. So once they finalize that, they will get back to me and I will pass it along.
All righty, thank you for that update. Moving further down, we've got the nomination to the Council on Aging. I do not have any update on that. We've expressed our interest in, having our board submit that nomination, and Kate Fitzpatrick had reached out to me on that. I'll follow up with her the next time that we speak, and as soon as there are any updates, we'll be sure and reach out to the board. So that brings us down to the next item on the agenda, which is the Library, Art, and Exhibits Committee report. I believe Kay may have had some Zoom issues. So if you are okay with it, I would just propose we table that until she can rejoin the meeting.
Or I can give her a report, because I am on that committee.
Sure.
Or we can wait.
So,
wait
well,
and see.
I'll wait a minute and see if she comes and joins back, but otherwise, I can start and say that we currently have online this month's prime exhibitor, Sam Williams. We have had some issues with his artwork. However, those issues were resolved this evening. And tomorrow morning, I will be hanging art. So while he will have a shortened exhibit, he will indeed have an exhibit. We also have a sculpture exhibit in the glass case at this time. Coming up in next month, give me a moment, let me pull up my email on this so that I get the name correct. Tamara Diaz will be our artist for next month. I have been in communication with her, so I am not expecting we are going to have the same issues that we had this month with her artwork and getting it up. Following that will be the people from the Needham Art Association for 2 months. And that is where we are at.
All righty, thank you, Galen. And if Kay does rejoin, we can just check with her to see if she has any updates as well. Next on the agenda is the McIver Series. Carol, did you have any updates on that?
Where am I? I thought I was muted. I can't recall whether at the last meeting I had lined up one McIver program at that point, and reported that Gloria Grice has agreed to do a program on notable Needhamites. And it hasn't been narrowed down to which ones, but I'm expecting that some of them will be more contemporary, not just, very far in the past, notable Needhamites, and more on that later. I did try to book a speaker from MIT, but she was just going to be too expensive. It would have been both, a nice connection to our diversity resolution, because her topic was on climate justice, but it's just too expensive. It's just not going to work out. So I'm on to the next several things that I'm exploring. That I have my list of possible speakers. So more later.
All right, thank you, Carol. And that does sound like a very interesting program. I see that Kay has rejoined. Kay, can you hear us?
I can. I'm not sure why my video is not working. My computer kind of connection dropped me out. Can you see me?
No.
No, but we can hear you, which is
Okay.
enough.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Under the statute that
That's
works.
enough. Okay, because I can see all of you, but I can see that I'm not there for whatever, and even though my video is turned on. So that's strange. Okay, so is it my turn to do the library arts and exhibits yet, or?
So Gay Ellen gave us a brief overview of where that is with the art exhibit in the future ones. But feel free to add in.
Well, I don't know if she mentioned that Ellen Clancy's work is on exhibit right now, which
That's
is
the name I forgot.
really, yeah, Ellen Clancy.
May I have your attention, please? The library will close.
There we go.
Feel like I'm there.
So in the cases, we have Ellen Clancy, ceramic, kind of abstract ceramic artist. She's, very beautiful, somewhat functional, but not entirely functional work, very sophisticated art. And I'm sure, I guess Gay Ellen updated you on Sam Williams and his struggle to get his Black Lives Matter photographs up and framed. This is the first time he's done an exhibit of this type, and is struggling to deal with it. But she probably mentioned it. Apparently, our October artist has been in touch. Our Latina artist from Rhode Island, Tamara Diaz, is planning to exhibit.
Yep. Perfect. Well, thank you very much.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, my video's out. I don't know why.
Sometimes these long Zoom calls can, overheat a video card or something.
Yeah, seems to be happening.
But thank you. Any other discussion on the Arts and Exhibits Committee? Okay. In that case, we already went through McIver. For Friends of the Library, I can briefly update the next Friends lecture series will feature Dan Barbarisi, who is a Needham resident, and his book Chasing the Thrill, which is about a Western treasure hunt about 4 or 5 years ago. I'll be hosting that program. That'll be in mid-October.
I can add also, there's a couple of other programs that have been tentatively confirmed over the last few weeks. In fact, 2 double programs. We're going to have in November, and this has not been fully confirmed yet, but it looks pretty good, that we'll be collaborating with the Museum of Fine Arts, and we'll have on consecutive weekends, November 14th and November 21st, 2 programs, each relating to current exhibits at the Museum of Fine Arts. One is really very, they're both great. Something called Paper Stories, art of, I'm not sure how to pronounce her name, Makua Holmes, and a second one called Fabric of a Nation, American Quilt Stories. And we've been in touch with the folks at the MFA, and they seem to be very excited about the idea of partnering with us on those sorts of events leading up to people coming to the museum over Thanksgiving and the holidays. So they haven't, it hasn't been fully confirmed, but we're very optimistic about that. And I think we've learned in the past that it sometimes can be helpful, not only collaborating with a great organization like that to get the benefits of whatever, social media and other support they would have, but having the two events, you can sort of promote them both for the price of one at the same time. And so it's, I think, an efficient way to operate. We learned that lesson with Eric Jackson a few weeks ago. And in the spirit of Eric Jackson, also from GBH this year, we're going to have two events featuring Brian O'Donovan, who's a good guy. So on March 27th, it'll be a short history of Ireland through song, him and his wife. And then on April 3rd, something he calls Words and Music, in which he plans to bring in a few people to join him. This is assuming, obviously, a post-COVID world. The MFA is probably going to be remote, I anticipate in November, but we'll see whether for Brian we can have something in person. And there's some other names. I think Gay Ellen mentioned the name. I know Margaret Pantridge has talked perhaps to Anita Diamond, and there are some other. So I think we have Friends have a nice program tentatively scheduled, with the centerpiece perhaps being the MFA stuff and the Brian O'Donovan stuff, which hopefully would be fun.
Thanks, Jay. And those sound like some great programs. And I think for what it's worth, the Barbarisi program in October is likely going to be on Zoom as well. I know that we're making that call in the next few days.
And they're having a book sale, right? The Friends are back to book sales, so it's worth mentioning.
Yes.
Thanking them for that.
I will
Hopefully
tell
some
you that
pent-up
they are
demand.
requiring mask wearing in the rooms while they're doing the book sale. And they will not be putting out quite as much stuff. We are going to be redoing the layout to a certain extent to give them a little bit more room to move around in.
Can I just add also one thing about the MFA exhibits? Those exhibits also, you'll see when you look into them more, they're also will support our diversity initiatives, diversity and inclusion, in terms of not only the Celtic music, but also some of the artists who are being featured in the MFA exhibits will be consistent with our efforts to make progress in those areas.
They have there is a author in January that we are doing via Zoom that I believe is Native American. So we will have some interesting diversified programs coming out of the Friends this year.
That's great. Any further discussion of the Friends? Okay, in that case, we can move down to the Library Foundation of Needham. I don't believe we have Joan here tonight. Carol, do you have any updates from your work with them?
No, the meeting was not particularly. There was a meeting right after our meeting last time, but there was nothing. They're pleased that their assets are doing well and approaching 2 million. I think it's about 1.8 in their endowment. But in any case, it's they approved funding for programs for the children for the fall and for adults for the fall that they're putting on. And Gail, and you submitted the adult requests.
I did. I've got 3 programs they're going to be funding, and there were multiple programs for children's that they also are going to be funding. In addition, they told us that if there's something else we would like to add for programs this fall, they would certainly be interested in supporting them.
Can I ask a question, Carol?
Sure.
Yes.
So did I understand correctly when they came to our meeting, I think, was it last meeting or 2 meetings ago, that they planned a sort of bigger scaled up fundraising campaign of some kind for next year?
For 2023, it will be their 20th year, and they're hoping to do more sort of corporate directed fundraising. And so they're starting early to think about that. At the moment, they're working to get out their brochure for this fall and trying to figure out more or less the cost of that, because what they do is they take 2 out of the 10 voting precincts and send mail to all the households in those precincts, and then it rotates. But I guess the precincts that are slated for this year, I think it's G and H, have an awful lot of households. And so would be very expensive. So they're trying to decide whether to do that or not. And they, of course, also send to anyone who's donated in the past. They're going to be appearing at the Harvest Fair again this year. So that was another little bit of news. But in terms of fundraising, I noticed in some of the programs that I attended, one with Tom Harkins a couple of years ago, that looked at sort of the difference between what friends and foundations tend to do, what type of fundraising. The usual seems to be that the foundations go for larger gifts from, wealthy individuals and businesses, and this, the smaller donations usually come from, into the friends through memberships or other gifts. And that's not really what's been done in terms of fundraising by our foundation so far, I believe. So I think they're just sort of thinking about that direction more than they have in the past, as the 20th anniversary is coming up in 2023. They hope to do, get some commitments ahead of that.
They've got 2 new members on their board, one of which has experience in doing publicity and the like, and this kind of fundraising. So they are thinking seriously about a big smash out event. They're not too sure what direction to take in it or where it will be hosted, if it's here or someplace else, but they are putting consideration in doing that.
Good, thank you.
All right, Carol, thanks very much for that update. That brings us to the last agenda item, which is trustee comments. Carol?
I did have one thing that I wanted to ask about. It's not exactly a comment, but it's partly a question. It could have been under the director's report under diversity and inclusion, or now. But I see that there are quite a few vacancies right now in staff, part-time vacancies. And I wonder if we're, first of all, just in general, why there are so many at one time, but also whether we are trying any new things to encourage a more diverse staff. During the interview process, I do believe in stealing ideas. One of the candidates had mentioned that having tried to get a more diverse applicant pool by advertising in places where people from other industries who did not have library training might look. So maybe somebody who does retail can do a public facing job in a library. And her report was that it seemed to work out well, that she did get some well-qualified candidates. I thought it was an interesting idea. But I wonder if Ann or Dimitri, you could just speak to our current situation and maybe your sense of why people seem to be moving on quickly right now.
Well, I can address that one immediately. Like, people are getting part-time jobs with benefits. Watertown, Wellesley, other libraries. That's something we can't compete with. We don't offer benefits with our part-time positions. So that's one immediate reason. Jay, go ahead.
I'm just wondering whether because it looked like there were a number of part-time positions with various, percentages. Would potentially those be translatable to any full-time positions for which we would include benefits and we wouldn't be at a competitive disadvantage?
I mean, that's a long-range thing to look into the future. These part-time positions in circulation, and the one in children's, I'm trying to remember the other one, the reference one, which is an internal posting.
Because I wasn't sure how much it would add up to in terms of the equivalent of full-time positions, that maybe you get a jack of all trades
that, you folks know as well as I do how the FinCom would look at that and how town HR would look at that. That's not something that we can affect right now. Or what I will tell you is literally the information I have for folks who have left and gone on, like the latest person left CERC, we had her for 3 months. She was wonderful, but she got a benefited part-time position at the Watertown Library, and she lives in Watertown. So, Carol, to your other point, we do advertise those jobs in Indeed.com and other sources that are non-library sources, the ones that are circulation jobs. You know, the ones we don't are the MLS ones. We advertise those in, you know, the Simmons job list and, you know, those types of places. But we do Indeed.com. And, you know, of course, we take the HR will ask us, do you mind if we put it in a particular source? And we say, sure, go ahead. So.
And is it clear from the description or the ad that, you know, people that have no library experience, you know?
Yes, typically those circulation jobs ask, I think, for high school and help me out here, is it high school diploma or maybe a couple years of college, or we'll consider, yeah, it is clear, yeah.
No library experience.
No library
required.
experience. Yeah. As a matter of fact, a couple of folks that we have hired recently came from retail and they're terrific. So yeah, we know very well that folks who work in retail do very well at our circulation desk.
Well, it may just be that everybody's got a, you know, help wanted sign out now, and we're no exception.
If you talk to Chuck in HR,
Yeah.
it is really hard right now to do recruiting. We have a lot of, not just us, just, you know, broadly all across. It's hard to find good help these days. You know, it's hard to get people to apply. Yeah.
And one of the circulation positions was a person who hadn't come back to work when we reopened. She'd had a lot of surgery and she just doesn't feel that she's ever going to really be able to do the job again. So she did resign.
And conversely, to add to what Ann said, there was another person who, for family health reasons, she hadn't come back, and her and her family recently relocated to Cape Cod. So that position opened up too. So these were not.
They're not related.
Yeah, they're more over COVID. It kind of developed, you know, with health issues, and their openings now, and we're going to post them and start hiring for them.
Okay, thank you.
So one, just to follow up on that comment, is that during this recruitment process, we have this, you know, a number of people are consultants, but also others have weighed in on the issue that the MLS degree is a barrier to diversity, and that because it's a fairly narrow group of people who decide, you know, they work in libraries and decide to get their MLS, and that one way of trying to broaden the pool of people who will eventually get their MLS is to try to get a diverse, bring in a diverse population of people working part-time and the lower rung jobs, so that those people, you know, become inspired to go on and get those degrees. So that's just something that was discussed during the recruitment process, the MLS as a barrier to diversity and how one would address that.
That's a lengthier discussion and we have time for it here tonight. We can certainly address that and look at that and talk to HR about how to do some of that. But again, some of those professional positions, you know, in the reference department in Children's Day, we always say, and in our adverts, we do say somebody pursuing an MLS. We don't, you know, we'll often hire somebody who's pursuing an MLS or even just starting it. We did have somebody recently who Danielle and I talked to about getting some archives experience, and she hasn't started her MLS yet. And she was, you know, she was a minority for sure. And we're still talking about maybe giving her a little project in archives. So we are looking at those different avenues.
Yeah, good, great.
So,
yeah, that's good.
Can I say one thing before we all wrap up? And I know it's the trustees segment, but I just want to recognize Jeff Arnold for doing such a terrific job with the minutes for all this time.
Bravo.
Really appreciative of it.
Thank you, Jeff.
You've been a real trooper. You've done yeoman's work. We can't tell you how much we appreciate it, but
Thank you.
for your own reasons, we're going to let you go at Jeff's request. And Gay Ellen will help us transition for a couple of months until we sort out the next step where we get a recorder for our meetings going forward. But I just want to make sure we appreciate Jeff. This is the last.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you so much.
Great work. Great work.
Thank you.
It'll be a
Thank
hard
you.
act to follow.
And
Jeff,
this
you
was-
deserve at least a donut, or if not, a box of donuts, I think, right?
That's right.
This
Apple
was an
cider
incredibly, oh, sorry, go ahead, Jeff. I was just gonna say, this is an incredibly difficult time to be taking minutes too, because with YouTube, that's a blessing and a curse. Like, you know, it having to go back and actually go after the fact, rewatching everything, we really appreciate it.
So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Glad to help.
All right, do we have any further trustee comments or general comments?
Move to adjourn.
All right, we've got a motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
All right, I'll go through the list. Jay,
Aye.
Rick,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Anna,
Aye.
Kay,
Aye.
Carol,
Aye.
and myself, I. Thanks, everybody.
Take care.
We'll be in touch.
Thank
and
you.
See you on October 12th.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.